Why are so many people refunding Le Mans Ultimate? This is quite a big story. If you see my comments all over the forums, a lot of people are very unhappy about this game, but is that justified? Is there a reason why the game is the way it is? In this video, I'm going to talk about it. By the way, I am sort of uniquely positioned to tell you about this and give you my opinion because I paid for this game with my own money. So I paid the $33. Some other YouTubers have got a free key. That doesn't discredit their opinion at all. I'm just saying I'm sort of in this with you because I've paid my own money and I'm also thinking, should I refund it or not? I want to show you a race start here. So firstly, the grid is not sorted by class, which is very weird. And inevitably, it's just going to be an absolute mess at turn one. Like, you know, it should not default to doing it like this. Now, the driving experience... got damage already. The driving experience in Le Mans Ultimate is very, very, very good in my opinion. I actually prefer the force feedback over iRacing. Goodness me. I mean, I was at this race that this is simulating, the 6 hours of Spa and World Endurance Championship. It was not quite this chaotic. It was a little bit chaotic, not quite this chaotic. I prefer the underlying platform in terms of the handling and the driving, but there is so much around the edges, oh goodness me, that you need to be aware of. Now I'm going to quit out of this race. I want to show you here. So if we go to the main menu, I'm going to show you some of the issues that you need to be aware of, and this is why people are refunding it. So firstly, the online experience, I'll show you some B-roll from what I was doing last night, is incredibly buggy. I mean, it just lags, freezes all the time, mid-corner. When it freezes, it does something funny with your force feedback. I was booted out of sessions. I was in an LMP2 only race, but there was a GTE car in there. There was all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of lag in the racing as well. It's not clear how you actually get the virtual mirror up, which I'm going to show you in this video. I'm going to show you some things that I've learned to manage it. The loading just takes absolutely forever, and I've got a top-of-the-range PC. So we're in this situation. I want to present it very transparently and openly and honestly, where the fundamental driving experience in Le Mans Ultimate, and I'm gonna give some context to this, is fundamentally good. The force feedback is very good. The graphics for me are kind of okay. It's nothing special. It's more on the simulation side than, say, the, you know, cinematic side, but we know we all want a sim here. But there is so much around the edges. Now, when it comes to the handling and the driving, I do want to say that I do like driving the hypercars. I did like driving the LMP2s. I didn't like driving the GTEs as much. I think I still prefer driving the GTEs in iRacing. So, you know, very different types of car there in terms of aerodynamic downforce particularly, and the hybrid system in the hypercars. So just bear that in mind. Now, when you go into a race weekend, I want to show you what is actually available for your $33. You have 7 tracks, okay? That's it. You have 7 tracks. Now, if a racing game launched today with 7 tracks at full price, it would be laughed out the door. But I don't think the pricing here is as favourable to Le Mans Ultimate as some people are saying. For me, $33 is still a lot of money, especially when you consider that ACC, so Assetto Corsa Competizione, Automobilista 2 regularly go on sale below that, and there's loads of DLC as well, update DLC, so you get loads more tracks, loads more cars. We'll get into the cars. Assetto Corsa is also just cheaper. It's like £15 and you can mod it. You can also look at an iRacing subscription if you want to try iRacing for a bit. That probably comes in cheaper as well. So for the $33, you're getting 7 tracks, which is not a lot, but we are getting Sebring, Portimao, Spa, Le Mans, Monza, Fuji, and also Bahrain, which is quite cool, especially if you like Formula 1. You've got 3 tracks here that overlap. Fuji's also been in Formula 1 recently as well. And obviously you've got Le Mans. And the tracks themselves are very accurately represented from what I can see. You have the actual signage and the licensing here. Well, but there's one weird thing about the licensing. They've licensed all the circuits, all the cars, all the sponsors. The music they use in Le Mans Ultimate in the menus is actually from a stock library, which is really weird because that can come back and bite them. They don't own that music, which I find very unusual. It's kind of, I don't know, not really great practice, I think. Let's look at the cars now. We get all the hypercars from last year. So we don't get all the cars from last year, but in Hypercar, we get all the cars. We get the Cadillac, we get the Ferrari 49P, we get the Glickenhaus 007, Peugeot 9X8, we get the Porsche as well, we get the Toyota, and we get the Floyd Van Wall. So that's great. If you like hypercars, I think it's a good value proposition. You've got 7 tracks, you've got all the hypercars. So if you were watching World Endurance Championship last year, then you're able to, you know, recreate your moments using your favorite hypercar at your favorite track. So that is great. I think that should be represented as like the core, most stable, most complete experience. Now, when we come to GTE, we only have 4 GTEs. We've got the Aston, we've got the Corvette, we've got the Ferrari, and we've got the Porsche. Now, this is where the value proposition falls down a little bit. That's not a lot of GTE cars. The GTE cars are also outdated. Like, these no longer race in World Endurance Championship. They don't race in IMSA either. The world's moved on to GT3 cars, which are slightly different. They have, for example, ABS. But there's no GT3 cars here. I'm very surprised they didn't include some GT3 cars. So it's really weird. So if you're a GT driver, I don't think this is as good as iRacing. I wonder how much they've really spent on the specifics of GTE cars, knowing that they're going to have to replace them pretty much immediately. They're already outdated. So I don't think it's a great GT simulator. You can see my first impressions video where I'm driving the GTEs as well, which is a shame because it's all fully licensed. I've been to WEC and I've seen all these liveries, and it's cool to see them in the flesh. But unfortunately, they are outdated. So if we go back again, so you got your tracks, you got your cars, you can choose your authentic livery as well. Now, this is again, part of the most complete system in Le Mans Ultimate. It's still broken for me. I've gone through here, started a race weekend with just a race, and it's put me on with like no cars, which is really weird. It's really frustrating because it takes about, I think, 3 minutes to load into a race on my RTX 4090 Intel 13900K PC. So top of the range PC. I don't know whether on a more normal PC, more regular PC, it's going to take a real long time to go in. The length here as well, you can't do a really short race. I would like to do an 8-minute race, 10-minute race. Some people might say that's way too short, but for me, that's kind of an adrenaline hit. Can't seem to do it here. Let's go into advanced options. How low can we go? Oh, sorry, you can in advanced options. But last time I did this, it didn't work. Oh, actually, sorry, I tell a lie. You can't do it in advanced options. I thought somewhere we'd got down to 8 minutes, but clearly you can't here. So they have a minimum race length, which is perhaps a little bit off-putting. But again, this is a simulator. I know lots of people in chat going, oh, you shouldn't be doing an 8-minute race anyway. Fair enough. I respect that opinion. See all this stuff here. There's really weird stuff where you can go to 104 grid position, but there aren't going to be 104 cars, and then you can't go right. Like, it's little UI things like this that are really annoying. So the right click makes you go faster. That's another top tip for you there. So we've got all this stuff. So actually, let's go through and we'll just do it there. So fast rolling, 24 minutes. So go to the event settings here. So Sebring, should be a race. Fast start. We're in the GTEs. We've got all the classes. Now, what it's not going to do, as I mentioned earlier, is actually sort the grid out properly. There's no way to get a actual split class grid, which I find insane. And it's these details like this. Some people might be like, oh, that's not a big deal. But for me, it's a massive deal, and also shows that they just haven't really thought too much about these small things. Maybe they've rushed so much. Let's be really honest about it. They need Motorsport Games, which is part of Motorsport Network, if you didn't know. So the company that owns Autosport, Motorsport.com, they created a games arm called Motorsport Games. They bought all the licenses to IndyCar, NASCAR, Le Mans, stopped other platforms from being able to do events there, so you can no longer do the Le Mans 24 hours in iRacing. They then didn't really do a good job of getting games out. They released NASCAR Heat, which was terrible. They created a whole media arm. So when I was making videos on YouTube about games, trying to review them honestly, I was competing against a media arm called Traction that employed some great people. The people were great, but it was a wholly owned arm of Motorsport Games that would report on Motorsport Games video games, and it wasn't always super clear that that was disclosed. And I was like, okay, that's a little bit weird. There's a similar thing with Overtake.gg. If you've seen Overtake.gg, that is wholly owned by Porsche. If you wonder why they have Porsche cars in their thumbnails, it's because it's a marketing arm of Porsche. They employ great people again. And what happened with Traction is when Motorsport Games sort of didn't want to do it anymore, they killed the whole project overnight. They laid everyone off and killed the project. So, you know, whereas I'm just sitting here in my bedroom, so, you know, pretty difficult to kill me off. Well, actually not. Well, I don't know. Motorsport games come after me. Right, here we go then. So I like the fact it's all licensed. This is good. We're talking about should you get a refund or not. So this is going to be a fundamental part of the driving experience. You can already see we've got a LMP2 ahead of us here. How is it going to be? So I'm going to start driving. You know, this view is pretty good. I like this. I like the overlay. Why they haven't done a radar, I don't know. There's no VR at launch, and I know why, because there's too many stutters in online mode. It would make you sick. But this experience here, when you're in the game and it's running, it is good. So if you want to... basically, my point is this. There's the interior pole competition. If you want to basically donate to motorsport games and get a glorified demo, really, and help the developers kind of get the internal buy-in from motorsport games that they need more budget to finish this, then you should buy it. Like, if you really want an official WEC game in the near future, there go the GR010 hybrids. I mean, it's very, very... I mean, this is like... got damage. It's like you can't... So you cannot just jump in... Unless I'm missing it, you can't just jump into a race. Which is quite a big oversight. You know, I find it interesting when people sort of, you know, concentrate on the small things, like having a DHL banner here, but they miss the really big stuff right in front of their face, which is, can we just not automatically grid it by class? Because that's going to have a much bigger effect on people's enjoyment than whether there's a branded Mobile 1 banner, in my opinion. We're in the sim now. I like the handling. I like the way that the rears feel very sensitive. I like the way that it feels like the car's pushing you around the corner. So when I drove the Ferrari 488 GT in real life, that's exactly the sensation I had. And that's the car I'm in now. But you feel like you want to get on the power earlier. And even that moment of oversteer was quite realistic to when I was driving this car, if you saw. But again, I want to show you just some footage of Le Mans Ultimate in action. This is as good as it gets. And now the race has settled down. I think we got some damage. And we could do a qualifying session. But I think there should be an option to simulate qualifying or something. Because don't give me an option... Oh dear. Don't give me an option in a multi-class race to choose my grid position if it's just going to be a bit of a nonsense and I'm going to get damage. Just let this guy go and we'll try and race him. The sounds are very good as well. The track detailing is good. But I was hoping, so in terms of the $33, I was hoping that this game would basically be my weekend go-to online racing. What I want to do like an hour endurance race, multi-class, and I want to hop around between Hypercar, LMP2, GTE. That's what I was hoping. But because the online experience is so hopeless, the only part that really sort of you can get consistently working... Oh, dearie me. Oh, my God. That'll teach me from doing that again. I really like the handling. I do. I really, really, really like it. Because the only part that consistently works is a single player. It's like, is that really enough? That, to me, feels a little bit like a demo. You get 7 tracks. You do have lots of cars, to be fair. That's what pushes it past being a demo. But, yeah, and you can see here, nothing's crashed. I was able to get into that race. But I want to hear from you, especially people that have bought it or thinking about buying it. Let me know in the comments. How do you feel about it? I would like here if they had a rolling list of known issues. And they were very transparent and they said at the top, early access in the banner. That would give me a lot more confidence that we're like, okay, we're all on the same page here. It's early access. I'm paying in to help you both get money, but also to get the buy-in from higher up, that this should be continued. There's a market for this, an audience for this. But don't try and pretend this is a full game. Because I have less confidence that they're really going to try and improve this when they present it as a full game already. If that makes sense. Those are my thoughts. So I am not going to refund it because I actually want a WEC game, and also my context is different because I'm a content creator. I'm going to create content on it. But even if I wasn't a content creator, I'll be really honest. If I wasn't a content creator, I probably would refund it. Because realistically, I'm not going to pay this. I'm not going to play this over iRacing. Like I'm not going to do online racing over iRacing. I'm more of an online racing guy. So, is it worth $33 to sort of drive some hypercars around in single player? We will see. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining.